Take off the bra for a drink. Life's too short. What do you think? We're ditching the rules, turning up the fun. After 50, babe, we've just begun. No filters, no fear. Sipping cocktails, crystal clear. Laughing loud, living free. It's time to own your destiny. You're a braless, lush, living bold. Stories untold, dreams unfold. Sip it up, let loose, be free. This is your time, can't you see? No more people pleasing, no more second guessing. We're talking life, love, laughs, and all the shit they don't mention. So grab a glass, grab a friend, let's shake it up till the very end. No regrets, just one big rush. Welcome to the braless lush.
Well, hiya, Toots. It's Laura, your braless bestie and your unhooked host. Welcome to the Braless Lush podcast, where we ditch the bra and the bullshit and unhook from our limiting thoughts. And ladies, if you are looking to pivot, now is your time. This is when we start living our lush. Okay. What's a lush? I get this question all the time. And I think most people go to the obvious, where you're inebriated or you're just bombed out of your mind from whatever lovely cocktails you've been drinking on a particular evening or evenings. But that is not what we are talking about here. Well, sort of. Sometimes we do. But I am talking about imbibing on the lushes of life, like your big dreams, whether it's more travel or writing a book or more family time, a new hobby or a career, meeting new people, or just having a cup of coffee or tea in peace. Or maybe you don't know what your lush is just yet, and you are finding your way, finding your voice, finding your confidence. What is it you crave? Well, I am overjoyed with having our guest here tonight, and I think it's safe to say that we are in the company of braless royalty, if I have to say. Tonight, I have with me the gorgeous and talented burlesque dancer, Michelle L'Amour. And this doll even has her own Wikipedia page, people. Yeah, I said it, her own Wikipedia page. She has won the title of Miss Exotic World in 2005. She's been on America's Got Talent. And now, this is how I know Michelle. She had her own burlesque school here in Chicago many years ago, and I took classes at her school. And in fact, this boa, so for those of you listening in versus on YouTube, I have this pink turkey feather boa with me, and it's the exact one that I brought with me for this just delightful and delicious Santa Baby burlesque class that I took over Christmas holiday one year. She has taught across the globe. She has been on MTV. She's an intimacy coordinator and a confidence coach, which I cannot wait to talk about. And she is going to talk about some of the pivots that are going on in her life now. Miss L'Amour, it's so nice to have you join me. How are you?
Hiya, Toots.
Hey, I'm going to shimmy off my boa. And now I'm all full of feathers, which is always fun, right? Depending on what you've been doing, right? I used this boa for a ballroom dance routine that I did a long time ago, because I ballroom dance for a hobby. And I did a quick step in a dress that also has turkey feathers on the bottom of it. And instead of marabou, it's like I left all of this pieces of me all over the floor after the routine.
So yeah, I always say burlesque dancers can't commit crimes because we will leave evidence everywhere. Glitter, sequins, rhinestone, beads, feathers.
Yep.
We're a mess.
I love that. that. So I heard that your name originally was Toots. Tell us about
my
that.
name was originally Toots, so it was Toots L'Amour. And I understood it just like you understood it. Like, hiya toots, and but people said toots all the time. And
Uh,
that was super annoying to me because eventually my tagline became the ass that goes pow. And so you can't be toots Lamore with the ass that goes pow. It just doesn't work. Um, so I was like, well, I'll be Michelle Toots Lamore. Michelle is my name. And eventually I was just like, I'm dropping the toots. Like y'all win. I can't fight this game this anymore, So toots is gone. It's all
Toots
right.
is gone. And it's so
But the
cute. But
ass is still here, I'll tell you that.
maybe you should share your gadunk with us on screen here, Michelle.
Oh, it's quite gadunky dunky today.
Well, I've been following you for a long time, so I'm sure peachy, the word peachy comes up a lot
Mhm.
in your conversations or on your socials. Um,
I'm known for my act, Buttoven. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um,
no, do tell.
oh, well, that's worth a Google. So Buttoven is my butt cheeks. They wear a bow tie. It's very classy, very
Oh,
serious. And then
oh,
I come out in a tux and tails, and I sit down at my bench, and I have my music stand there, and it's very serious. And then I flip my tails, and it's just my butt, and it does isolations to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. So it goes like right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
oh my God.
And I've been doing that in Vegas for, I don't know, from like November through July, about 5 days a week. It's very strong right now.
I bet. So what kind of workout do you do for that?
Well, that's a tricky one because you do want to work out, but then you also don't want to be too sore because you have to be relaxed enough. And the act is 3.5 minutes of just butt isolations. So it can be quite intense. There's a lot of endurance. Um, so yeah, I have to like work to keep it relaxed, but then I also have to be stretched in my hip flexors, and it's a niche act. Yeah.
I to say the least, yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure just doing the act alone is a workout in and of itself. So is that something that you this is such a weird question for me. Is that something you practice often?
It's just something that happens like all the time. If I'm driving in the car or just around, my butt is moving in some capacity, some way. It's jiggling, it's wiggling, it's flexing. Yeah. There's a lot of fun little muscles in your butt. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. So how did that even come up as a routine or something that you've become known for? Let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten, this came out in 2012 and it went viral twice, has over 10 million views, which now is not such a big deal because people do that. But back then it was a big deal and it allowed me to travel the world, wiggling my butt. It was a very bizarre time. But I did it. So there's America's Got Talent. There's also France's Got Talent. So I went to Paris doing this. I worked in New Zealand. I went to Spain. I went to Germany. I've worked 5 nights a week in Vegas doing this. And it was just a joke act. It was an act that I created because I was bored. And I always thought this would be funny to do. And turns out I was right.
Well, Michelle, I've seen your shows here in Chicago. I think it was a holiday review that I
Mhm.
think you did. And it was gorgeous between the tassels and the rhinestones and your MC, who was just divine. I don't remember your MC's name, but boy, the costumes, the hair, serious business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we created a lot of magic. It was a moment in time.
I think I still have pictures from that I took. So yeah, it was some hot stuff. And I think oh, by the way, cheers.
Oh,
Chin
cheers.
chin. Yeah. You got your bubbly? What did you
Mhm.
decide on?
This is my fake out bubbles. So this is what I do when I'm at if I'm trying not to drink, is I'll drink sparkling water.
Uh-huh.
But I'll go to a restaurant and I'll ask for sparkling water in a wine glass with some bitters and ice, and that's my drink.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, if
Well,
I'm trying to take a break, because last night I had some drinky treats, so today I'm like, I'll just have water.
Well, I'm with you there since it's almost the weekend, but just to pace myself, I do have some sparkling myself with some raspberries. Very, very cool. Yeah, so Michelle, your shows have been amazing. And so Michelle is unfortunately no longer in Chicago, but she's in Vegas now. What took you out to Vegas?
Oh, Vegas is an accident, but I left Chicago in 2018 for LA. And then the pandemic happened. So I ended up coming to Vegas to survive, really, because the rent in LA was insane. And of course, live entertainment all stopped. And so did my income. And there also was not a point in staying in LA because part of being in LA is to experience and network and do all that. So it was just shut down and they raised our rent. And it was like, okay, I guess we'll go to the desert.
That was your alternative, the desert?
Yeah, it was like Palm Springs or Vegas. And I said, well, we'll know more people in Vegas because we did know a lot of performers here. When I say we, it's me and my ex-husband. So Vegas has been wild. I've been here for 5.5 years.
Michelle, I think what would be interesting to learn from you though is what drew you to burlesque to begin with?
Well, that's something I'm really thinking about a lot these days. I started dancing when I was 15, which is very late for a girl to start dancing. I was super shy, and it took me a lot of courage to go to a dance class. So I was a kid with alopecia, so anything that brought any attention to me just would make me just hot and embarrassed and
Mm.
red, and I didn't like any of that. But I really took to dance, and it was my passion. It was the thing that turned me on, like, and meaning like turn on my switch for life, my passions, like everything kind of ignited with that. And so I really wanted to dance, and I ended up going to school for finance because I was really discouraged to dance from my family, from my boyfriend at the time, and I just kind of ended up believing the bullshit and not believing in myself, which is unfortunate, but that's what happened. And I got my degree in finance, and I'm proud of that. But my passion was in dance. So after I graduated, I went back to dance, started teaching dance again, and then I fell into burlesque, and that was an accident. My now ex-husband, he saw me dancing somewhere, and he asked if I would be interested in dancing for like he had a band at the time, so I was his backup dancer. And then he said, "Well, I always wanted to do this burlesque stuff. Like, do you want to open this rock show with a burlesque show?" And I was the choreographer, and I was like, "Sure, yeah." And then I heard the music and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly what this is." And this was back in 2002. So it was not as prevalent as it is now, and especially I was at U of I. So there was certainly nothing happening in Champaign, Urbana. Um, promise you that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I just kind of developed my ideas around burlesque kind of in this little bubble, and of course, very influenced by dance. But I will say my first striptease was in 2003, and I was really, it was exhilarating. It was like, I think the thing that I'm thinking about the most these days is my relationship to validation and what I needed. And I think I was drawn to it because it was like, it was immediately validating, of course, from the audience, but it also felt like this kind of power on stage, this kind of untouchable power that I very much enjoyed on the stage. Off stage, I did not carry the same amount of power or confidence. So it took me a long time to learn to bring the confidence that I had on stage off stage. Um, but the validation, I realized like I've growing up again as a girl with alopecia, I wanted the attention of boys, but I didn't get it. And I think this kind of brought me this validation that I always wanted when I was growing up. And then it just kept feeding. It just kept going and going. And, then I opened a school and then I won awards and then I was on TV and, it became this thing that I didn't know that it could become. And I'm here 23 years later and it's kind of amazing. And I will say, I don't need that validation anymore. It's not important to me at all.
Michelle, tell our listeners a little bit about what alopecia is.
Mm. So alopecia is an autoimmune disease that causes your hair to fall out. So as a kid, it started when I was 6, and I've had many different hair stories throughout my life. I've had full heads of hair, I've had little tiny patches of hair, and I would spend hours and hours trying to cover up these spots. Yes, I could have worn a wig, but the first time that I wore a wig was, I think it was like first grade, and I was running in the playground and the wig came off in front of everybody and everybody laughed and it was horrible. And I came home and I was like, I'm never wearing this again. And I just chose to live as I was. And, that came with a lot of stress. But covering up felt uncomfortable to me. However, I will say in about 10 years ago, it started getting really bad, kind of at the height of my career. And I kept it quiet. I didn't tell anybody. I was covering up because I thought my job depended on it, honestly. I was like, who wants a bald girl? Who wants a girl who's losing her hair? This isn't sexy. This is horrible, And I would wear these wraps all the time. I did start wearing wigs. No one backstage knew. Like, I was stealthy in how I covered things up. But eventually I couldn't handle it anymore. It was too much pressure. It was too much stress. And I came out about it in 2018. And I made a video about it called The Big Reveal. And I took my wig off in the video and started living and performing as who I am. And so the hair that I have now, I think, I'm accidentally cool. I think
Oh, there's no accident about you being cool, Michelle.
but
You're
like
just cool, period.
people like will stop me. They will literally stop their cars in the middle of the street and yell out their window about how cool my hair is. And I'm just like, this is so bizarre and so ironic because wow. Like if you only knew.
I think that's fantastic because I, I don't think anyone would argue with me that so much of who we are as women is so centered around our hair. If it's not our hair, it's our boobs, in
Mhm.
so many ways. And again, for people who are listening in on the apps versus on YouTube, Michelle just has this gorgeous everything, but she has one side of her head is shaved. You shave that
Oh,
side?
they're both.
Oh, they're
It's
both shaved. They
perfect.
are both sides with, and
Mhm.
then you can pull the middle part back or it flips over to one side or the other.
Yeah. So I can have
Yeah,
call it a convertible. I can wear it top up or top down.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But it is. It's so cool and it's so uniquely you. And I think I started following you on the socials when maybe when you did your reveal because I do remember a lot of your posts um very sorrowful, I will say, somewhat
Mm.
sad. You were sobbing in some of them, I believe. And I think you just had a lot going on in your life at the time also, if I recall some of your posts. And we talk about how we have grit and resilience and you make your message and all of that. And but again, so much of who we are as women and the femininity of us has to do with our hair. And when you went public with your alopecia and being uniquely you, what kind of response did you get?
Wow, it was incredibly supportive, and I really did not expect that. I was absolutely willing to lose my job, my jobs over this. That's how much pressure I felt. And before I made that video, I actually went to the venues that I worked with in Chicago because they were using me like as their as an image and as like their branding and I'm like I understand this is not great, but this is what I'm going to do. And they were so supportive. I couldn't believe it. And also the fans were so supportive, and I feel like I have such a great relationship with my fans because I feel that I'm very authentic with them. And I know that the glamour is interesting and appealing. However, I don't want it to mask the message. And I don't want people to feel like it's unattainable. I want them to know that there's a very, very real person under here. And that's always been important to me.
What's so interesting about dance, and I've mentioned to you that I ballroom dance for a hobby and I started when I was 40. And the more I got to know some of the people in the group, and particularly the men, but people who were dancing, so many of them are introverts or they have more left brained, let's say, careers. And some of them are, in a way, socially awkward or just don't put themselves out there socially. But to put yourself out there in a dance and communicate with people through movement is such a different kind of conversation and relationship, but it still fulfills that. So, how is that dynamic between you and your audience?
As a dancer,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, for me, that's like my safe space. That I mean, I am much more comfortable using my voice than I used to be. I'm much more confident off the stage than I used to be. And I think it's because I've embraced who I am and I am living authentically. And, um, but my stage time, it's kind of like I have this like force field. Not that I didn't
Yeah.
connect with the audience, but that was my space. And I could do or say whatever within that space. I was in control of that space. And it was like my alone time almost. Even though I would have anywhere from 50 to 2,000 people watching me at a time, it was like kind of this moment where time would stop almost, not to sound so cheesy about it, but the little matrixy.
Well, you created your own little world and took on different personas. All your acts were a little different or had a little different theme. So you were pulling through other maybe experiences in your life that you were bringing to the audience. It's not just the dance. I think anyone who dances understands that it's not just steps. It's what you bring to the dance from experience or other circumstances in your life or your world or the story that you want to bring to your audiences and what you want them to walk away with. So, um, how is it that you've channeled some of your life experience through your routines? Because they're all delicious to watch, but how do you bring through some of your own circumstances and your own story?
Yeah. So, what's different from me than some other performers is that I don't have a character. Some performers are very much like a character. They'll speak about it in the third person kind of thing. But for me, I always wanted to bring forth different parts of my personality and kind of explore those pieces of me. So all my acts are super different. I really wanted to be an innovator in the field, which was a challenge because burlesque has such a long and deep and rich history. But I really wanted to put my own spin on things. It felt very important to me to be an individual, um, and not just like rehash things that have already been done. Um, so for me, some of my acts, like I have a panther act in a cage, and that was like when I did that in 2008, no one was doing that kind of burlesque. No one, it was like very serious, like really, I prowled. I didn't smile. I didn't wink. I was like gonna eat you for lunch and you were gonna like it. Like
I love it. That's
that,
so juicy. I love it.
yeah. So yeah, it was, that came on the scene and people were like, oh, whoa, you know? So I became known for that. And, but I also have a really romantic and dreamy, huge white feather dance that is a tribute to Sally Rand. I don't know if you're familiar with Sally Rand, but she was a famous fan dancer known for essentially saving the Chicago World's Fair in 1933. And if I could only do one act for the rest of my life, it would be that act.
Oh,
Love it so much. And I do it to Claire de Lune by Debussy. And it's just big and beautiful. And just, I just love doing that act. But yeah, so those are two examples. And then, of course, I have Beethoven, which is ridiculous. And then and I won Miss Exotic World with Snow White. And I have a Snow White act where, oh, I bite into the apple and all hell breaks loose. So I like to play, and like sometimes I like to be fun and flirty and pink, and other times I like to be a circus panther. So it really depends.
yeah. Well, and I think that's the joy of dance, no matter what the style is, that you can bring out, like you said, different personas or different parts of your personality. And oh, Michelle, I have to ask, have you ever danced in a place like the Lush Lounge here? I mean, come on.
I mean,
Martini bars and tiger stripe tables. I mean, check it out.
I've danced a lot of places, a lot of places. So yeah,
Oh, it's not the Moulin Rouge, but
it's all right.
we're low budget here. But I wanted Michelle, I have to tell you about my shoes though. I don't know if you can see my shoes.
Mhm.
So these shoes, I say, so they're sparkly red slingback peep toe platform shoes, about 4 inches, I believe. These I would refer to as barstool shoes for sure. You would probably be the super pro to dance in those, but to dance in these. But I always say these shoes are like if Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz was a stripper or a burlesque dancer. Like that's how sparkly they are. But let me tell you where I got them. I got these at a store, it was a secondhand store in Burbank, California,
Mhm.
where the studios would offload costumes and accessories and all of that. And they actually mark either where the accessories came from or what studio it came from. These came from a show. I believe it was a pilot for a show called Sing, Sing, because it's written on the bottom of the shoe. And they just so happened to be my size, which was crazy.
That's so cool.
So I'm wearing these today on my bar stool here in the Lush Lounge. I would not even try going out in these, although they look good, but I would just like I said, need to be perched on a stool and stay there all night.
Mhm.
There's no walk of shame happening in
Yeah,
these shoes.
no, yeah. You gotta stay careful with those.
Yeah, these are what most people would probably refer to as the ankle breakers. So at least I can wear them here in the Lush Lounge. But Michelle, the idea of burlesque, what I like, and from what I've observed, is that of all the dancers that I've seen, and they were mainly the teachers from your school, and of course the performers in your show, and of course I'm aware of Dita Vantes and some of the other burlesque dancers out there, is that there isn't just a one shape or size that you would expect of a burlesque dancer. And what I think is interesting too is that seems acceptable. Because I've seen, there's all kinds of comments on what women are supposed to look like these days and what's acceptable. And even in the ballroom world, there's certain physiques, if you will, that are more acceptable in certain styles of dance than others. And burlesque just seems to be one of those where body style or type, physique, etc., there really, to me, doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of discrimination against one size or not. I guess what I'm saying is that I've never heard of a burlesque dancer's physique being criticized. Maybe it has, but
Mm.
how do you speak to kind of body type in the burlesque world?
Well, I will say the burlesque world is still influenced by the world. I think this is a really interesting time, and I think back when I started in the early 2000s, it had more of like this punk rock kind of vibe, and I feel like, the resurgence of burlesque kind of began in the mid 90s on the coast, like in New York and LA. Um, and I think it was a reaction to all the diet culture and gym culture of the 80s and early 90s, right? The we all have different body types throughout the decades, right? And what's like flappers really wanted to be boxy and flat chested. And then the style of the 80s was like boobs and no butt and super tan. And and even like our bush styles have changed over
Yep.
the years, right? So, we're still kind of um influenced by that, I think. And I think now is an interesting time because while individuality overall is more talked about and more expressed in general, we also have everybody also trying to look the same. Everyone's trying to look like an Instagram filter
Mhm.
in real life. And it's kind of bizarre. And it makes me sad because I think individuality is the thing that's beautiful. And in burlesque, yes, many different types of bodies and genders and sexuality, and like there's a lot of celebration of everybody in in the in the world. Like whoever wants to do it can have access to a stage. So the barrier to entry is low, very low.
Mhm.
Whereas if you were going to go to, like you're talking about with ballroom, like absolutely there's a a body standard. The dance world can be really tough. They're just kind of starting to loosen the reins a little bit, but the dance world is very intense about bodies. I think, I hope, that tides will be changing and that they will stay that way instead of reversing like
Mhm.
some things that are happening in the world.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, between body types and what's considered acceptable, those of us who are getting older, we're all getting older. All yeah, it's like it's a moving train that they say you should be grateful that you do get to age, but there are stereotypes that come with that about being older and what's acceptable in terms of body type. And you had said that you are doing some confidence coaching these days. Tell us about what that is and what are some of the key things that women should be thinking about in terms of staying confident or getting more confident about themselves, especially as we get older?
Yeah, I mean, I think confidence is one of those things that ebbs and flows, right? You're gonna walk into some situations with total confidence, but you might walk into other situations, maybe into something that you've never done before, and of course, you're not going to feel confident, right? But hopefully, in those situations, you have a really firm grasp about who you are. And I think as women, we are very far away from who we are. We are very used to denying our impulses, denying our desires. We're very good at endurance. And when I say endurance, I mean especially in relationships. When we're in relationships that aren't good for us, that cause us to compromise ourselves, that cause us to make concessions, um, and put us in a position to serve the other rather than our own self. And I think learning how to say no and also learning what your yes actually feels like. And I think that is something that we are so far removed from. And when I say we, I'm including myself in that. And I know people will look at me on stage and think I'm like the most confident with it person. And I will tell you off stage, struggling. Lots of stuff was happening. For me,
We know how to put on a good face if there's anything we're good at that. We're
we're very
hiding
good at
behind
that.
the mask.
Right. But a relationship isn't something to be endured. In fact, really no experience needs to be endured. And when I was learning about this, and it was kind of blowing my mind, I took this consent, it was a 5-day consent workshop in Utah, of all places. So there was a lot of ex-Mormons there, like trying to recover. but it was it's called the Wheel of Consent. And so it's really it's about more than just saying yes or no, but it's about what does that feel like? What does it feel like in your body when it's a full yes? Or even what is like a maybe, I'm curious. It's not a full no, but maybe it's a yes with some caveats,
Mhm,
like a
mhm.
yes, but, or yeah. So I think that is very important in confidence, and also just taking stock and taking ownership of your accomplishments. I think that we often don't celebrate each other or ourselves. And I found that kind of keeping a running list of my own accomplishments can help me in situations that are new to me, where I feel like, oh, this is not my comfort zone. This is not my wheelhouse. Like, I'll say, okay, remember you did this, remember you did this, and you got through that, you did that, you did that. So it's like, I'll have to remind myself, like, oh, remember you are strong. Remember you are capable. And just that self talk instead of the self talk of like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I really screwed that up, or, you know, whatever horrible things we say to ourselves.
I think that's a great exercise because I think we forget all the things that we have done because for some of us, like myself, it's I'm on this earth over a half century, which is hard to think about, but that's the truth. And we all have so many experiences, and when we're thinking, I'm not good at that, or I couldn't possibly accomplish this. I have no experience doing XYZ. And if we sat down with that list and connected the dots, I think most of us would walk away saying, I'm pretty flippin' amazing.
Hmm.
Look at all these things. And I just don't think that certain things that women do, that they really stop and think that it is significant. They think it's just some day-to-day thing. These are just the things we do. Why is this special or unique, or why does it make me special or unique? So I think that's a great exercise for women to think about doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a really great reminder of not exactly who you are, but what you've done, and how that can support who you want to be.
And sometimes we just don't connect those dots very well. And maybe we don't remember everything. And if you have to ask a family member or friends, and just which might sound like a weird a weird question. Tell me how amazing I am, but you know what? Most people can do
Uh,
it and
I've
tell
definitely
you.
done that. I've
Have
asked
you?
my friends in times where I'm super confused about myself and like, what am I doing? I've absolutely reached out to some friends and been like, can you just tell me what you see? What do you, what's your experience of me? Because I
Mhm.
feel really messy right now and I need some perspective. And sometimes that perspective comes from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, we get in our heads in our own little bubble and we forget. And yeah, you need outside feedback because we'll never walk away thinking that we are amazing as we think we are, and we do need that feedback from other people. So I think that's super important. Michelle, I know you're not 50 yet. You're not in the 50 club yet, but we're never too old or too young to pivot. And I think you have some pivots happening in your life. Anything that you'd like to share with us and walk us through what the pivot is and what it might be? And maybe you don't know yet, but you know that one pivot is a coming. Something's changing.
Oh yeah. I love a good pivot. And yeah. So I like to say live your life in rough draft. And if you're looking at a rough draft and there are things that don't serve it or serve you, you can redline that. Take it out. It is not working. No, there's no reason to keep putting effort and energy into something that isn't filling you with joy. And we tell ourselves so often, like, well, we pride ourselves on the virtue of being loyal. Who are we being loyal to? We're being loyal to someone else, but not to ourselves. And we need to be loyal to ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves. And yeah, I am at that point where I am leaving Vegas and I don't have anything lined up. I am looking for a career change. I am looking for a whole lifestyle change. I want to get back to my roots and my passion for dance, and I want to feed myself. And I have wrestled with my limiting beliefs that no one will really care about me if I'm not doing burlesque.
Mm.
I'm not going to be interesting to anybody if I'm not doing burlesque. I'm not worthy of making money if I don't take my clothes off. You know, like these are my deep, dark truths that I have discovered, that like this running narrative in my head. And that comes with a lot of work and a lot of effort of being quiet and still. And I will say soft. I think being soft is essential to this work, because if you're going to plant new seeds, you need to have a fertile ground. You can't plant them in concrete. And so I've really had to soften and really look at some of these things that I didn't even know were there. I didn't even know that I was thinking that or believing that. And then through journaling, meditation, it's become this noticing. It's getting in touch with your knowing. It's getting in touch with your intuition. And I'm just going for it. I fought it. I wrestled it. I tried not to. And then I was like, yeah, I have to. This is the time. This is the moment. I could come up with a million reasons why not to. But I'm doing it, and there are so many opportunities out there for me that I don't even know about yet.
And I think it's so cool that you use the term to stay soft. Of course, we always say stay open, but staying soft and in this way of kind of planting the seed, it's really allowing yourself to absorb what those opportunities could be. And I think there when listeners are hearing this part of our conversation, I think that so many will be so on board that you don't even know what's out there for you, and myself included. I keep telling friends and colleagues that this has been, I call it my spaghetti year, where I am, I'm not only literally and figuratively trying to ditch the bra and the bullshit, but really throwing it all out there to see what's the next thing. I'll be 55 next month, which is only a week and a half away in September. And now is my time, because I think, I don't know for you, Michelle, but I think you get to that point, that edge where you're at the edge where you've just either had enough or that it's time for a change. And that's an amazing decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the work in the what's next is really the hard part. And knowing that it might take time, and just to, like you said, what you were doing, journaling and meditating. And I could just hear some women saying, well, who's got the time to journal and meditate? But that's a commitment I think that we have to make if we really are convinced that there's a change in the wind coming. And if not now, when?
Exactly. I will also say therapy is great.
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever
for
kind
sure.
of I read a ton of books, podcasts are great if therapy's not
Mhm.
an option. Like, the hard part about when you're trying to make a change, like a true big directional change in your life, you need to have support around you. And whether those are people in your life or just resources like books, podcasts, whatever, you need to have that positive reinforcement because everything around you is going to tell you how scared you should be.
Mhm.
And you need to seek out the positive reinforcement. It is a must for that. And I think for me, my life really started to change when I found my no. When I found my no in my marriage, no, I'm not doing that.
Mm.
No, I don't I don't want to do that. And I stopped making concessions. And do you know how difficult it was for me to not make concessions because I had been doing that for so long. And I had to make a choice every day, multiple times a day, to choose myself every day because it was so difficult for me to know that my no was hurting someone else. That was really hard for me to handle. But I, at that moment, had to be loyal to myself. I had to choose myself. And I have been committed to that.
And that alone is, again, a big decision to say, okay, now it's my time. I figured out that things need to change. There's something else for me. And the unknown is scary. And I I'm continually telling friends who are, especially some of my friends with kids. I don't have children, so I can't 100% relate, but I have to think that at some point in time that there's an hour or a half an hour during the week to just stop, to be still, like you said, and just think about what the next could be, or just what's the list of possibilities. Write them all down.
And
And
I
maybe
wouldn't
it's,
even say think, I would say feel.
yeah.
Stop and feel.
Hmm.
We do a lot of this head stuff, but we don't
Yeah.
do a lot of heart stuff. And
Hmm.
that's where that pull is going to come from, and that's where that strength is going to come from. Like,
Yeah.
you can logic your way in and out of anything. You can make your pros and cons list. And I will tell you, like, intuition isn't logical and it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And people will look at you and be like, "You are making a mistake.
Hmm.
And they will think you're crazy. But in the words of Mel Robbins, let them.
Let them, yes.
Yeah.
Holla holla for holla holla for Mel. Yeah, let's give a hands up for Mel. But yeah, it's those little voices, the one on the right shoulder and the one on the left shoulder that can talk you in or out of anything 100%. And I think any movement toward what your next could be is good movement, because I think it does give you momentum when you do that one little thing. You sign up for the class, you talk to that friend, you read that book, you listen to that podcast, and I think it just keeps rolling thereafter. And our epiphanies come when they come. And I think just you got to get started.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
yeah, the more you do, like, the more synchronicities will happen. And you're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, just read that and now it's over here and now I'm over here. And all of this, I'm reading a book right now. It's very confrontational. Highly recommend, but oof, I would say a later down the road book once you've kind of gotten into this work. I would say it's like later. Um, it's called Existential Kink.
Hmm.
And she references the Young quote, if the unconscious isn't conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of things that like, oh, I don't know, it's just happening to us. This is happening to us. It's like, ooh, how can you get the reins back on your life? I'm taking
Yeah.
the reins. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 I could see where that's a little more
It's
down the
heavy.
road.
It's
Yeah,
down
it
the
is.
road. Down
Yeah.
the
Yeah. It might almost qualify as woo woo in some ways also, but
Yeah,
it,
maybe. I don't know. Do
yeah,
it all. Do it all. Do all the woo woo. Go see go get all your tarots read. Go get
that's
your
right.
like do it all. You know, any modality that appeals to you, do it all.
Yes.
See
Yeah.
what resonates because you might like journaling, you might hate and it might not work for you. But if you're like, yeah, I love getting my tarot read and that really helps, great. I really love having affirmation cards. That really great. You know, it's like there's not one prescription for to find yourself.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
there's suggestions, but what's going to work for you, I can't tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, Michelle, what do you think is out there in New York? I'm curious because you've been, Vegas. I think most people have the perception that it's exciting. Vegas is Vegas, um, lights and all of that. But New York obviously has a lot going for it too. So, what do you think is out there for you?
Oh man. I I'm from Chicago. I'm a city girl. I need to be around energy.
Hmm.
I need to be around architecture and art and culture and people who are trying, people who are ambitious. Like that fuels me, that motivates me, that inspires me. I've always loved New York. I've been visiting there for probably 20 years. I've always loved it. And I've always said, oh man, if I have a ton of money, I would live in New York. And then I was there in May and I was sitting at a cafe and I'm looking around and I'm like, there's a ton of people that live here without a ton of money. I could be one of those people. Everyone here is doing this. It's working somehow for them. Like I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm capable. I could figure this out. And then it just like clicked and
That was your moment.
that was my moment. And
Yeah.
hadn't I hadn't thought about it. I thought I was going to go back to LA. But it hasn't I was going to go back in January actually. And those plans fell through and then the whole city was on fire for
Mm.
2 weeks or something and that
Mhm.
was horrible. And even after the fire I was like maybe still LA. And then I went back to go look at places again and I was like, no, this is not it.
New
It's
York
not
felt
it.
comfy.
Yeah. And then I just started working a ton. I started doing Beethoven a ton here in Vegas. So I was like, well, I guess I live in Vegas now. Um, but it's like everything kind of worked out and everything kind of aligned. The show that
Mm.
I was in closed. The apartment that I'm in offered a 6-month lease, and at the time when I signed the lease, I was gonna kind of negotiate for a year lease, but my body said, "You don't need it. You don't need it." And I was like, "Okay." Oh, I don't need it. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen or anything, but
Intuition is a funny thing, isn't it?
yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't need it. You're right." So, I'm taking this opportunity and I'm going for it.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I hope you find everything you're looking for in New York. Michelle, what as we wrap up here? Oh, I have 2 questions. So, first question is, what advice, kind of a recap, would you give a woman who wants to pivot, knows she needs to, but doesn't know how to do it? What might be the first few steps that you would recommend?
Mm, yeah. I know this pivot so well. I think the getting quiet, getting soft, and getting to know you is the best thing. And I think choosing you, when you invest in yourself, you'll always get a return.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so hard for women to just slow down, especially those who are working and have families and maybe have kids and are taking care of parents and who knows what
Yeah,
else, because we know
yeah,
we ladies can take on a lot.
of
So just
course.
that quiet time.
And I'm well aware that saying that that might make people so uncomfortable because being slow, being quiet doesn't feel safe.
Mm.
And I think that is somewhere to look. Why doesn't it feel safe? Have you been in a constant survival mode? And why?
Yeah, and I think for some women too, slowing down, there's a guilt factor to that too, to be selfish, but it's
Hmm.
not. It's not being selfish.
No, it's very much. I will tell you something that I observe when I go to take yoga classes is that they'll be in there in their cute little Lululemons, and
Hmm.
then when we get to Shavasana, they're rolling up the mat, they're leaving, they're not taking that time to
Yeah.
absorb the work that they have actually done. And that part is actually the most important part of class. And it makes me really sad because the time that we spend scrolling on social media could be time that we are giving to ourselves.
Mhm. Michelle, my second question is, what's your lush?
Mm.
What's your thing? What's that thing you crave, or
Oh,
what's the
I crave stimulus. I crave I crave inspiration. I crave being around anybody who is passionate and loves what they're doing. Um I I crave being in the energy of talent. I really I enjoy it so much.
well, you're definitely heading to that place. If New York is your place of choice, I think you will be welcomed in a overload kind of way where there will be no lack of creativity and energy and new and ambition, as you said. Michelle, how could our listeners either get in touch with you or see you in action with your shows, be it online or whatnot?
Yeah, well, if you want to work with me for confidence coaching, you can go to michelleamore.com/coaching. And that's MICHELLELAMOUR.com.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Michelle Amore.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, to everyone out there, my luscious sisters, please, please go and follow Michelle. She's beautiful and wise. And if she has any videos of her shows, please go watch her. And but Tovin, is that it? Yep. Go
Yep.
check that. Go check that out.
Yeah.
I myself haven't seen that one, but I'm definitely going to check it
Yes.
out. And maybe Michelle, you'll come up with a whole new glute workout or something
Well,
like
I
that.
think my follow-up to Beethoven for the holidays was the butt cracker. So I
Oh,
also got
of course it is.
that.
Oh, well, when that comes along, you better let me know so that I
Oh, you
can
can Google
post
that.
that.
You can
Oh,
Google
that's
it.
oh, you've done it. Okay, that won't be something new, but the
Yeah.
butt cracker. Okay, love it. Love it, Michelle. Well, my dear, the beautiful and talented Michelle Lamore, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
Oh, this was so fun. Well, everyone, my luscious sisters, thank you so much for listening. And if something lit you up during the show, follow and subscribe on the apps or on YouTube. The show is on all of the socials also. And if you go to thebralesslush.com and click on subscribe, you will get my newsletter, Unhooked. Yes, I said it. My newsletter is called Unhooked, which is my little inbox cocktail that talks about all things lush, reinvention tips, and announcing new episodes. And if you sign up, you will receive a copy of the Braless Lush Screw It Strategy Journal and Workbook. So there you go, Michelle. There's our first lineup for how we get out of our funk and into something new and fabulous and living our lush. And we'll give you all kinds of thought starters and questions on how to pivot to your next chapter. This is Laura, your braless bestie and unhooked host. Keep it loose and go out and live your lush. Meow for now.
Welcome to the Braless Lush.